Jim Williams with you with the New Mexico Suncast, and I'm here with William Scherer, the senator from District 1, San Juan County. Senator, thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me today.
Well, we wanted to do a little piece, let people in New Mexico know about you. You're way up north, so maybe some of the people in the south and even central New Mexico might not know who you are. What inspired you to serve in the legislature and be a state senator?
Well, I have to go back a really long way. My family's been involved in politics for a long time. My mother was actually a reporter for the Albuquerque Journal. When I was 8 or so years old, we were in the press box overlooking the Senate. While I was just standing there looking, of course, she was doing the closing day report.
And that process intrigued you as a young person?
Yeah. And then, of course, I continued on through different governors and different presidents. And so, always been interested.
And you live where?
I live in Farmington.
In Farmington. Great area. I was kind of teasing you a little bit before we started today. I'm a San Juan River fisherman. I go up there quite a bit, just enjoy the beauty of New Mexico, and I'm sure that's something you do as well.
Absolutely. And, San Juan County has 2/3 of all the surface water in the state of New Mexico. So with Navajo Lake, San Juan, Animas Rivers, La Plata River, 2/3 of all the surface water.
I did not know that. But boy, what amazing areas they are. Do you get to recreate a little bit, or is between work and serving in the legislature limit your time?
Well, if I'm not working, there's this guy named Manuel Labor. He beats on me pretty often. But then I'm playing with grandkids. So, yes, I've certainly been fishing up there.
How many grandkids?
I have 10 grandkids.
10. Congratulations.
And I wear a different grandfather tie every day. So in this particular case, they just get a blank tie and draw on it, but different one every day.
Yeah. How is it going this year in the legislative session?
So we started out a lot harder, a lot faster than normal. And it's because the progressives really wanted to push their agenda because in the past, as they wind up, that gives us as the Republicans or the opposition party time to get in the way. And so we've been able to stall things and kill them that way. This year, their tactic was to shove it down our throat before we had time to deal with it. So
this is another kind of a personal, when you're serving, this is a 60-day session. What's the effect on your family? Because we do appreciate that you serve. And I know that that's a difficult thing to be away from family, friends at home.
Yes. So my wife used to come here and stay with me all the time. Then she had a kidney and pancreas transplant. Now she's got immunosuppressant drugs she takes. And so I asked her, are you going to come this year? She says, no, I'm just going to get mad and sick and I don't want to go.
Yeah.
So,
but she's doing better.
She's doing great.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, and again, you live in an area where taking a nice walk.
Yes.
It's very beautiful. Many areas. What's your favorite place to eat up in Farmington?
And
look, I don't want to get you in trouble with your constituents. So if you have 3, 4, 5 different places, you can mention them all.
So there's a restaurant called Doña Maria's. We really like that. It's mostly takeout for us, but they have you can eat inside. Mm-hmm. I'm sure my wife is yelling at me right now. Tell him this one, but I can't remember it.
Well, I love.
There's a place called Hometown Hamburger, which is really Hometown Hamburger.
Well, you notice I'm taking notes because I'm a native New Mexican, and I'm going to take your advice and go visit these places. That's one of the things I do since I retired is to go, travel around the state. Do we have the best food, do you think, of all the states?
Absolutely. I was in the Army. I ate food all over the place, and no. There are places where you just have to have green chili, and or your choice between green and red, and you're just not offered that in Georgia.
Yeah. Well, let's transition now into talking a little bit about the session. You're a little bit over halfway through. You got about 3 weeks to go. How has the legislative session and working in Santa Fe changed over the years of the time you've been serving here?
My very first year here, the Democrats had very much turmoil in their own caucus. And so they spent hours every day yelling at each other, which left the Republicans with nothing to do. But then we kind of came together and we worked very well together. Certainly we each pushed our agendas and things like that. But we could talk to each other. We could work with each other. We got dinner with each other and things worked out. There were plenty of times when I thought, we should have won that vote or whatever, but it was rarely contentious. Now it's very contentious. The lines are drawn, and you'll look at most of the votes we've had this year, in the last few years, they're party line votes, and it didn't used to be that way. In the past, it may have been Albuquerque versus the rest of the state. It might have been north of I-40 versus south of I-40, or the Rio Grande corridor versus the east and west, but rarely was it just straight party. Now it's straight party. And the Democrats won't even take an amendment, even good amendments. Amendments they acknowledge are good amendments. They'll vote against them.
What do you think the motivation is? I mean, some people at the federal level, elected officials, it's all about getting reelected.
Yes.
I've been here my whole life, and I've never really perceived, I have great friends on both sides of the aisle and independents, et cetera. But I've never seen the kind of infighting, I guess you could say. And that's really not why you're here. You want to make some concessions and get some agreements and do some bipartisan work.
So an example of that is Senate Bill 1, 2, and 3 this year, which were behavioral health package. And Senator Worth and I are co-sponsors of the Senate Bill 3 part of that, which was the guardrails, as we call it, for the behavioral health money that we're about to put in. We've been just pouring money into behavioral health with no benefit at all for a decade. And so now we've got a structure, and yes, there are people that say, you're giving the Democrats cover, whatever. But this, at least in my opinion, is good policy. And Senator Worth, the Democrat leader,
Yes,
me, the Republican leader, have worked together on this. And we've been a great team, by the way.
I love this report. It's fantastic.
So we've known each other for a long time. We like each other. But I didn't realize how good a team we were. So we would go to things like this, or radio, or whatever. He would give his little spiel, I give my little spiel, but we could play it off of each other. So very spontaneously, we explained this thing. It came across genuine because it was. And that's what I like to see, good policy. There are other people that are looking at it and go, oh, but that was bad politics. You shouldn't have been seen with him. Okay.
And you're talking about people in your own party.
Oh,
well.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people in my own party. Okay, it might have been good policy, but it was bad politics. And so at least from my perspective, we're here to make New Mexico better. And if Peter Worth and Bill Scherer can make that happen, I'm in.
Amen. What's going on in your district that your constituents are really hoping you can help them with?
Well, there's several things. A few years ago, I don't remember when it was, 2019, I think, we passed the Energy Transition Act, which essentially destroyed the cleanest coal-fired power plant, I think, on the planet. Nothing could be measured coming out of that power plant except electricity and CO2. And we were about to capture all of the CO2 with a $30 million project. And so the only thing coming out of that power plant would have been electricity. But groups came together and said, no, we must destroy coal. We don't care if China burns all of the nasty coal in the world. New Mexico coal has to be destroyed from the cleanest coal-fired power plant in the world. So we closed it by law. 1,500 jobs lost. So we're trying to rebuild from that.
Do I remember there were some promises?
Yes.
That there would be replacement jobs available?
Yes. No. There were promises. And so it took 2 years before anything happened. And the promises were that we would train people before they lost their job, that we would start other projects before the... No. Essentially, the miners that didn't retire are still miners. They're just miners in Wyoming now. The people that actually ran the power plant, most of them retired. But we're right on the edge of the Navajo Nation. Half of all these people were Navajo. And a lot of them just had their lives turned upside down because not only did they work there, their fathers worked there, and in some cases, their grandfathers built it. And so all of a sudden, you've taken generations of people. And
This
made
is
them
this is
unemployed.
not on my little list, but I've heard that when you have a legacy of families working
Yes.
like in that for a power plant, that tends to make people work harder because they're pride.
Yes,
And,
that's
and
right.
they really appreciate the job, and their families have been there for generations.
So, on top of the power, we have two power plants. One of them's still open, but people are trying to close it too. And these were huge power plants. So not only were they clean, they're huge. 4,000 at their peak, 4,000 megawatts of power.
Yes.
It's a lot of power. Wow. But we're also an oil and gas district, mostly natural gas. And so that's been a big deal. The downside of that was, again, the same people that hate coal hate oil and gas, and so they've done everything they can to make us lose oil and gas jobs as well. But the good point about this is Governor Newsom, he decided that natural gas was no longer a greenhouse gas, so they could use it. And that was because their wind and solar isn't reliable enough to keep the lights on, so they need natural gas.
You have
Natural
a
gas
few
is
of those
great.
The brownouts kind of tend to make you change your policy.
And so now we can sell gas to California again. But we could sell almost every molecule of natural gas we have to Japan or Asia, somewhere in Asia. But you have to turn it into liquefied natural gas. Well, while Governor Newsom now says he can use natural gas, the liquefaction stations along the coast, he closed them all so that we can't sell New Mexico gas to Asia. And if we could sell New Mexico gas to Asia, they would stop using coal, which would clean up our environment.
Isn't that interesting?
So we got this just sick and twisted. The only way to clean up the environment is to destroy New Mexico.
Yes.
Yet China and India are the people that are spewing out the coal.
Well, and I really like your perspective on all you did through the legislature and working with the business people up to make the coal-fired plant safe and clean. Let's talk about the remaining 3 weeks that you have. Are you optimistic about certain bills getting through? Are you looking forward to anything positive?
Well, generally speaking, we'll have 1,000. This year we got a little over 1,000 bills. Sometimes we have 2,000 bills that are introduced. On average, 200 or so will pass both chambers. 120 or so will be signed by the governor. And my question always is, do we need 120 new laws every year? Probably not. We might want to have one or two, but 120 probably not. And so I'm not really a big fan of passing a lot of things. There are two things that I think we really could work on, though. One is true crime package. So we passed a crime package, and I voted for it. But it was a half a crime package. Better than nothing, so that's why I supported it, or voted for it. I don't know if I supported it, but I voted for it. But we have more to do. So some of the things that are really important is what we call the catch and release. Somebody's arrested, they're out, and we have to stop that. And we have a bill to do that. That's huge because the criminals are deterred when they know that they will be punished, and they know that it will be punished quickly. That's the deterrent. Right now, they're pretty sure that A, they won't be caught because we've neutered the police. And if they are caught, they'll be out of jail in a few minutes because the courts think that they have to let everybody out. And if they're tried, they won't get punished. So why not steal your car?
Is this issue public safety? And I'm glad you brought it up. It's a good segue. This will be the last line of questioning I have for you is, in terms of public safety, is this such a complicated topic that we can't solve it? Or I've heard people say when people are faced with hard work, sometimes they use the word confused, when really all it is hard work. It's simple, but it requires some hard work.
Right.
What is the opposition to just putting together a crime package that actually works and does everything we need it to do?
I think there's two things here. One is for a lot of people, they're focusing on the wrong thing. It's gun crime. No, it's crime. It doesn't matter if it's a gun or a knife or just somebody telling you to give me your wallet. Okay? It's crime. So people are misplacing their effort. It's all about guns. Well, it's not. It's about crime. So that's the first problem. The second problem is there's this greater picture that all of our criminals have behavioral health problems and they need a hug. They don't need jail. Well, yes, there's behavioral health problems out there and a big group of people that do need help, and they probably need more than a hug. But you have criminals too. Hug's not going to stop them. This is their business. And we certainly have cartel business. That's a big business. They have business plans, they have accountants, they have attorneys. They're a big business. And that one we have to rely on, I think, the federal government. But the local police, we've told them not to touch anybody. The courts don't do anything. That is something we could do here. That's how you stop the people from the auto theft. Those are folks that the Albuquerque cops can deal with and Albuquerque courts can deal with. They just won't.
There has been, I guess we look at victories when we're number one in the country as a state for car theft.
Yes.
But then we maybe improve 2 or 3 percentage points, and a lot of people will count that, especially political people, like that's a major victory. But we're still at the top of the bad list.
Yes.
New Mexico, and I'm here because I love going fishing, as I talked to you about. I love the open space, mountain biking, all of that. And you can't get that in a major metropolitan area like a Phoenix or San Diego, even those are beautiful places. And so can we bring our state back to where we all want it to be?
Oh, absolutely. I think we can. I don't think it's that difficult. So we took away what they call qualified immunity from the police officers. And that's why police officers don't want to touch anybody, because they can be sued personally now. And even if they didn't do anything wrong.
Senator Dyke, can I ask a question? Can I ask about that? Because I know that was done back in like 2021, I think.
Yes.
So qualified immunity basically allows, if you're a police officer and you somehow, I think, you arrest me and I complain about something you did, I can sue you personally.
Exactly.
Well, there's already in place laws that if you actually did something illegally as a police officer,
yes,
you could be prosecuted.
Right.
And you might even be found liable.
Right.
But here's the part that doesn't make sense. I'm a retired banker. So if you do something wrong against me, would I rather sue the city of Albuquerque or you? Who has the most money?
Well, the city does, of course.
And that's why I don't understand why that was even entertained as a benefit to anyone.
Well, we went from our first responders being national heroes to being zeros over events that happened elsewhere in the world. And so when we took away that qualified immunity, the thought, at least among the progressives, was all cops are all bad all the time. And the only way to wrangle them in is to put their neck in the noose. And so we still have, the police force still wants to do the right job. But now they're concerned, even if I do everything right, I might get personally sued and lose my house. And even if I win the suit, I had to mortgage my house to pay for the attorneys, and then I lose my house. So why do I want to touch anybody, ever?
Are the police in Farmington having the same trouble they're having in Albuquerque? Recruiting and all those things are a problem?
Yes, recruiting is a problem everywhere. Yes.
Yeah.
And we keep, raising their pay, which of course does bring in more people. But the people with that mindset wanted to be police officers. Yeah, they want to be paid fairly, but now they don't want to be police officers. And that's the problem.
Tell me how you feel about first responders and police officers. You believe they're heroes.
Oh, absolutely. I'm an infantryman, but these police officers, they don't know what they're walking into ever. They go knock on a door because there's some kind of disturbance. That can turn into a gunfight within seconds. As an infantryman, I'm more ready to fight before I show up. because, well, A, I'm holding a rifle in my hand and their pistol's in their holster. So it's a challenge. Every traffic stop, and we've had some state cops killed recently on just routine traffic stops. No, that's a big deal. These guys guys and gals are solid.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
And their service is amazing.
Yes.
And I think that's true. We're going to let you go because I know you got lots to do today. And but I hope you'll consider talking with us in the future. Maybe even give us a recap after the session is over. The New Mexico Sun is going to take some of your comments and put those on our news wire, and that'll be shared in social media and other things. And then we have the New Mexico Suncast, which is available on YouTube for everybody to watch. So thank you, Senator, for your time today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.